So hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial video, I would like to show you how to create a offline login form with async storage. If till now you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. So without wasting the time, let's jump into the video. So as you can see on my main screen over here, let me just switch it over. Great. So as you can see over here in my main screen, we are having this React Native async storage.github.io link opened. And from this link, you can just install async storage in your project. If you're using npm, there's an npm command, yarn command, and expo command if you're using the expo CLI project in React Native. So you can just use these commands to install async storage in your project. The link will be provided in the description below. And if you are using an iOS based project, you can just run this command npexport install in your iOS folder to just install async storage correctly in your iOS devices. And you can even use this command if you're lesser than 0.59 React Native version. You can just use this command to link the async storage in your project. Great. So let's start working with it. This is only the one package that we will be using all through this course. Okay, so now let me just minimize my Google Chrome because we are not going to work with it. And as you can see over here, we are having our app run at the right hand side. Okay, and on the left hand side we are having our code. So we are having a simple structure of our code. I will just explain you. We are using some import statements over here. So one, we are importing the use state hook and use effect hook. Second, we are having the view, text, style sheet, text input, touchable opacity, alert for displaying the error alerts. We are even importing the async storage from React Native 2, and we are importing the image tag for adding our beautiful async storage image thumbnail in our UI design. And the third import statement, we are importing the use async storage from React Native async storage package that we have installed from the github.io link. Alright, so we are having some basic stylings for our body to align the text in center, and our some text stylings over here like font size and font weight. And simple, we are having a view and a text. So now let's start working with the UI design of our login form. It's not gonna be the complex UI design, it's going to be just a simple UI design that we are also going to build in our tutorial video. Even you're gonna learn how to design, how to create a simple login form UI design, and you will learn how to use an offline async storage, how to store the user's data that the user is gonna enter in the login form in the user devices with the help of async storage. So what I'm going to do over here is that I am just gonna remove this text from inside the view over here. Alright, and inside this view I will be having the image of async storage that is going to be having a style of logo, and then we're going to be having a source, and we're going to be using the require keyword because we have the image installed in our project. So require, then we're going to be having single quotes dot / images. In that we are having the async storage dot jpeg image. Great. And now let's close our image tag. Beautiful. And it's saying me that this file does not exist. So let me just check. It's not jpeg, it's jpg. Alright, my apologize. Alright, so now it should not display any error, but still it is displaying me. Okay, so now error is disappeared. Great, cool. After the image, I would like to have a text displayed as the heading of our project. So we are going to be having a text which is going to be having the style of styles.text, and we will like to display async storage as a text. And after the text, we are going to be having two inputs for username and password. So we are going to be using the text input that is imported from React Native, which is going to be having a style of input. And then we are going to be having a placeholder that is going to be username. Simple. Then we are going to be having our second text input, which is going to be having the same style as the input, and the placeholder is going to be password. Great. After we do that, we are gonna be seeing the two inputs as username and our password, which you can see over here, and that looks really cool. Awesome. Great. After these two inputs, we will gonna be having a login button. So let's create a touchable opacity button over here, which is going to be having a style of button. And in this touchable opacity, I would like to display a text which is also going to be having a style of button text, and I would like to display as login button. When I just do that, it should display me a login button over here. Now we are all set with our structure. Now let's start styling it. So the first thing that we're just gonna style is going to be our thumbnail, that means our image. So let me select my logo, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna change its width to 90% and height to 200 pixels. Alright, that looks really cool. After that, I'm just going to provide some margin from bottom, so we'll get the space between my image and my heading. That is going to be 20. Beautiful. That looks really cool and amazing. So now we are having our async storage text. I'm just going to provide a margin from bottom, so we will be having more space between the heading and our input. So let me provide a margin from bottom that is also going to be 20. Cool. That looks really awesome. Now let's start styling our input. Input is going to be having a border color of red, and border width is going to be 1 pixel, and input's width is going to be 90% related to the width that I have provided to my image thumbnail, I mean to say. And padding inside this input is going to be 20 pixel from top, bottom, right and left. And even we are just going to provide some margin, so we'll be getting some space between these two inputs. So margin I'm just going to provide that is going to be 10 pixel. And to make my input look more good and unique in the UI design, I'm just going to provide it a border radius that's going to be 100 pixel, and that is just gonna shape it as curve. Cool. So styling for our input is also finished. Now let's start styling our button. I'm just gonna provide it a border width of 1 pixel, border color of red, padding of 15 pixels, width is going to be 50%. And after that, I'm just gonna align the text in center. And now the text is not aligned in center, so I'll be using the align items to align the text that is there inside this button, or any elements is there inside this button, in center. After that, I would like to add a border radius to it. That is also going to be 100 pixel, and a background color I'm just going to change for this button. I'll just keep it as red. Now let me style my button's text. So for styling my button text, I'm just going to select it, and what I need is I need to change its color to white, and I need to change its font size to make it look bit bigger. That is going to be 20. Great, and that looks awesome. So we are done with our styling. Now let me even change the background color for my body to make it look bit different than white. So I will be just coming over here to my body tag and add a background color that is going to be in hex value, that is going to be CACC triple CF. Okay, awesome, that looks cool. So now we are done with our UI design for our login form. As you can see over here, we are having our beautiful thumbnail that is displaying the title of our tutorial video like React Native Async Storage. Heading is also over there, and we are having our beautiful input in which we can just write our text. Cool. And we are having beautiful login button with some touchable opacity. So now what I need is I need to save the user's details that the user is going to enter in our input in a variable. So for that I will be using a use state hook. So after my function and before my return statement, I'm just going to create the state hooks. One is going to be for my name, set name that equals to use state, and I'm just going to keep it as an empty string. Same thing I'm going to do with my second state value that is going to be storing the password. Great. So these two state values are defined over here. Now how will I set the input, the data that the user is going to enter in this login form to our state variables? So for doing that, we can come to our text input that we have created over here for our username first of all. And what we are going to do is we're just going to write this on change text over here. We are just going to select the value that we are going to get from the input or the user have entered in our input. So just select that specific value. After that, then you can set your name to the value that the user have entered in the input. Same thing we are just going to do with our password. Use the on change text over here. The value that the user have entered in our input, just get that value and set our password to the value that the user have entered. Great. So now what will happen, the value that the user is entering we are going to get that value, and then we are going to set our state variables to that specific value that the user have entered. Great. And that value will be stored in these variables as name and password. So now we have learned how to design our login form UI, and we have learned how to store the user data in our use state variables. Now let's come to the real work, that is going to be adding the async storage functionality. So for doing that, we are going to come to this touchable opacity button, and I'm just gonna say over here, on press of this touchable opacity button, when the user clicks over here in this button, I'm just gonna call a function named as set data. So when the user clicks on the login button, we are just gonna set the user's data, the data that the user have entered in the inputs. So let me create that component, that is set data that equals to, we are going to be using the async storage functions over here. Not async storage, sorry, my apologize, it is asynchronous. Great. So I have created this method over here for setting up my data, that means for registering the user. I'm gonna say if my state variable, that is name length, is double equals to 0, or my password length is double equals to 0, I would like to display an alert. That is going to be warning, please write your data. Cool. That's it for if statement. If the data is there, we are just going to run this else command. In this else command, we are going to be using the try and catch. Catch is going to be having an error that we are just going to console it by 1. So console.1, in which we are just going to display that specific error that we are going to get. If there's no error, we are just going to run this try command. In this try, I'm just going to create a variable of a user that's going to be an object, in which we are just going to be having a name as a string, and we're just going to store the user's name. Same thing we are just going to do with password. Alright, and after that we will end it with a semicolon and use the await over here and use our beautiful async storage. Async storage, then we're just gonna use the set item method over here, in which we are just gonna set our items, that means the user's data, as user data, and then we're just gonna convert that data into from JSON dot stringify. And what was the variable name that we have in which we are storing the user's data? That is user. Alright, and that's it. And now let me just alert it. Alert, that means the user's account is successfully created. Account created successfully. And now let me just save it out and end it with a semicolon. Cool. So now I will explain you it in an easy way if you have not understand it yet, what is happening with this set data method. So when the user enters the detail in this input and clicks on this login button, we are just gonna call this function, that is set data on press, and that function we are defining before our return. And in that we are saying if our state variables, that is name and password, if its length is double equals to 0, I'm gonna display an alert that is gonna warn the user that please enter their data. Else, if the data is there, we are going to be using this try and catch. In the catch, we are just gonna warn the user related to the error that appeared. Okay, if the error is not there, we are just going to create a variable of an user, which is going to be an object. In that object, we are having this name and password as a string, and we are using the name and password that the user have entered in their input fields. Then we are using this await, and we are using our beautiful async storage and set our item as user data and convert it into a JSON stringify. And where is our data stored? In our user variable that we have created over here. So we are just going to convert that data into JSON and store it in our user's data. And after it's done, we're just going to display an alert that is going to display that your account is created successfully. Cool. So now let's start working with our get data. So now what I'm going to do is after the user have registered or created his account and the user quits the app and come back to the app, we will not ask the user to register back again or log in back again. We will just redirect the user to the home page and display an alert that is going to be login successfully. So for that, I'm just going to create a variable of get data that equals to parenthesis fat arrow function and curly braces. In this, we are also going to be using the try and catch. In catch, we are just going to get an error that I will be displaying as a 1, the error that we got. And in try, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my beautiful async storage, and I was setting my item in my set data method. Now I'm just going to get that item that I have set up. So for getting that item, I have just used this name, that is user data. So I'll be using over here user data to get the item from the user's data variable. Then we are just gonna ask the value. Alright, in this we are gonna say if my value is not equal to null. That means if the user have registered, if the user have created his account, we are just going to execute this code. If the user have not created his account, the user is going to get an error. So if the account is created, I'm just going to display an alert that is going to display logged in successfully. Cool. So I will explain you once again what is happening over here in this try and catch. You know, the catch is just displaying an error, but this try method is using beautiful async storage and is getting the item from our user data. Then we are saying the value, if the value then we are using this arrow and curly braces. Then we are using our if statements. If our value is not equals to null, that means if the user have created his account, then we are just gonna display this alert. If the user haven't, then we are just gonna simply display the login form without any alerts. Alright, so now let's use the use effect hook to run this set data method once the user opens our app or once the user clicks on the login button. Use effect hook, and let me call my set data method in it, and this will only run once the app reloads. So we're just gonna add an empty array, and we are getting a warning over here that is please write your data. Alright, let me just click on OK. So now let's test whether our application works or not. Are you excited? I am. So now let me just open my terminal also over here for a second where my server is running. Alright, so over here, great. So let me enter my username, easy to code, and a password as programmer. And now when I just do click on login button over here, it should display me an alert that is going to be account created successfully. Alright, so let me just click 1, 2, 3, and it is displaying me a beautiful alert that is saying the account is created successfully. Awesome. Now let's try quitting our app and opening it back again, whether it redirects us to the home page or not and display us an alert of logged in successfully. So now I have not created any other pages, so it's just gonna display a single alert. If you need to redirect the user if the account is created to a different page by using the stack navigator, you can just simply use over here navigation.navigate user to the specific name of the page. So let me just start my app, that is this tutorial app. So let me just click over here, and it should display me an alert that is going to be logged in successfully. Let's see. It's displaying me please write your data, and the alert is not being displayed. So let me test what's happening over here. We are having this get data. Alright, sorry, my apologize. What's happening over here, when I'm running this use effect, I no need to call the set data function. That will only be called when the user creates the account. So when the app reloads, I'm just gonna call this get data method. Alright, and now it's displaying me logged in successfully. Let me just try it once again, so it will be really good for you all guys. 1, 2, 3, and now it should display me this alert. Let's see, it's downloading the app, and boom, it's displaying me logged in successfully. So this is how you use async storage as an offline storage for your login form details in React Native. So now you can do anything you like. If you're having any errors or any issues while running the async storage project, just comment down below. I will just comment you maybe after 2-3 minutes. Alright, so if you like the video, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next video.